Welcome to Maths with Paro. This paper is 0580 Cambridge Extended, March 2021, paper 22. Let's begin. We start with question 3. Here they have the number of passengers for 14 days. And here we have that means n is 14, that frequency. And the first one is they say complete the stem and leaf diagram. So usually what we do is we start off with each number and we place it. So the key is 1, 5 is 15. So obviously 15 would be written as next to 1 we have 5. And then the next number would be 18. 18 would be after 5. Then we have 22. So we go to the second row. 2, then we have 17. 17 has to be between 5 and 8, 15 and 18. Then we have 35, which would be 3 and 5. Then 38, we put it on the same row as 3. 24 on the same row as 2. 19 comes after 18. Then we have 24, so there are two 24s. We had a 24 earlier. Then we have a 25. Then we have a 31, so that comes before the 38, 5 and 38 that we had. Then we have a 36, we write 6 after 5, and then 29, which is the last one. Now they ask for the median, so it's important for you, once you place all the numbers, you put them in order. So you go 5, 7, 8, 9, 9, 2, 4, 4, 5, 9, 1, 5, 6, 8. Now the median, the rule is, or the theory is n plus 1 over 2 position. N is 14. 14 plus 1 over 2 is 7.5. That means we look at the 7th and the 8th position. So now if you look at the 7th position, we count, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th position is this and the 8th position is that. So we add both of them. That means 24 plus 24 divided by 2, and the answer is 24. Now let's go on to the next question. Question 4. They're asking you to write each number as to one significant figure. So 2.8 to one significant figure is going to be 3. And then we have 82.6 to one significant figure is going to be 80. 27.8 to one significant figure is 30. 13.9 to one significant figure is 10. So 3 into 80 over 20, which will give us 12. Now, when they say the number of bowls of hot soup sold decreases when the temperature rises, this is called a negative correlation. Moving on to question 8. To write 0.37 with a recurring decimal as a fraction, what we do is, since the two numbers after decimal are repeating, we multiply it by 100 and we divide it by 9. That is the theory for recurring decimal, because there are two recurring decimals after the decimal point. We multiply it by 100 and divide by 9, and our answer is going to be 37 over 99. Then here what we do is, we're going to take out what's common. So if I take out 10 to the power 7 as common, then I'm left with 0.48. Because here it's 10 to the power 6. Since I want to take out 10 to the power 7, I have to make the 4.8 0.48. And then I have 3.7. And when I add it, I end up with 4.18. So it's 4.18 into 10 to the power 7. And that is our final answer, because they're asking us to write everything in terms of decimal places, in terms of standard form. Then moving on to the next question, that is question 10. Here we have, on a map, the positions L, M, and N form a triangle, equilateral triangle. They say, work out the bearing of M from L is 103, M from L is 103, and we have highlighted that here. Work out the bearing of L from N. So here what we do is, we know that it's an equilateral triangle. That means everything has to be 60 degrees. Now, we also know that these two angles, this angle and this angle, they are interior angles because they're both parallel. They're both facing north, so they're both parallel, right? So here we have a situation where this is facing to the north, this is facing to the north, so we're talking parallel lines. Interior angles add up to 180, so 103 plus 60 plus whatever this angle is would be 180. So 103 plus 60 is 167, and then we end up with is 163. 180 minus 163 will give us 17. So this angle is 17. And once we have 17, we know that x plus 17 is equal to 360. All right. So if x plus 17 is 360 and this is 17, we can find out how much the bearing of L from M is, and that's 343. That is our answer here. So we simply use parallel lines and the theory we know regarding bearing. The next question is question 15. Here, points E, F, G and H are a circle, and they say that EG equals EH. So EG, EH is here and EG is here. It's an isosceles triangle. Now here what we do is, and we also are given that ET is a tangent, and we're given angle FET, which is here, angle FE. T is 47, we've highlighted that there, and we're also given that angle FEG. FEG is 25. Find the value of x. Now, if these two are equal to each other, that is, these two lengths, that is EH and EG are equal, it's an isosceles triangle. So that means these two angles are also equal. The two angles here are equal to each other. Now let's look at what we know in terms of alternate segment theorem. We know from alternate segment theorem that this angle between the tangent and the chord is equal to angle subtended by the chord. So we know that this is 47. Then we also know that angles on the same arc are equal. So we know that this angle has to be equal to this angle. So when we do that, we find that this is equal to 47 plus 25, which is 72. This also has to be 72. So if this is 72 and this is 72, then we have x plus 72 plus 72 is equal to 180. And in that case, we find that x is equal to 36. The next question, 16, is regarding inequalities. So they say the region R satisfies the three inequalities by drawing three suitable lines and shading unwanted regions. Find and label R. So what we do is we have to actually draw these equations. So first we draw y equals 1. Y equals 1 is just a straight line, okay? Y equals 1 is this straight line going horizontally. Then we draw y equals x plus 2. So y equals x plus 2 is simply a straight line that cuts the x-axis at y equals 2x plus 2. Sorry, this should be y equals 2x plus 2. So y equals 2x plus 2 is, let me just rewrite it, y equals 2x plus 2 should be a straight line which cuts the x-axis, the y-axis at 2, okay? And we have found some values for it as well. Over here, we found some values for it. And here what we do is, if you just find when x is 0, y is 2, and when y is 0, x is minus 1, and we draw this line, y is equal to 2x plus 2. Now remember that if you look at that line, it's an inequality. So later on I'll make it dotted. Then we go on to x plus y equals 3. Now x plus y equals 3 simply means that it's a line that cuts 3 on the x-axis and 3 on the y-axis. So we have these 3 points. Now since we have been given that y equals 1 is an inequality, that will be a dotted line. Since we have been given that, so I'm going to erase the solid line and leave it dotted blue. Since we're given that y is less than x plus 2, that also will be a dotted line. But x plus y equals 3 is a solid line. And Once we draw all of that, we find that the common region is going to be R. Right, so moving on to our next question. Y is equal to 2x plus 2 and not x plus 2. The next question is question 19, solving simultaneous equations. For this, we have x minus 1 equals 7 and x squared plus y equals 149. Now, remember, it's a linear and quadratic equation. So what we do is we actually substitute. What we do is we look at x minus y equals 7 and x squared plus y equals 149. Here, since we actually have a situation, usually we substitute, but in this case, if you look at it, we actually have a situation of a minus y and we have a plus y. So if we add them, we're going to simply cancel off the y's, and that's what we do. So we end up with x squared, x plus x squared on the left hand side and 156 on the right hand side, and then we just make that into a quadratic equation which we factorize, and we have two values for x, minus 13 and 12. Once we do that, we can substitute in the easier equation, x minus y equals 7. When we substitute that, we will get two values for y. Y is 20, minus 20, and y is equal to 5. So here we have a set of values here, which is x is minus 13 and y is equal to minus 20, and x is 12 and y is equal to 5. So here x is minus 13 and 12, y is minus 5 and 5. Moving on to question 20, here we have a similar situation where it's similar triangles, ratios of proportional sides or corresponding sides are equal. So here we're going to say that 2.8 is corresponding to 3.2, and we have 1.61 corresponding to x. So we have 1.61 over x is equal to 2.8 over 3.2. It's just arithmetic, and when we do it, we end up with x is equal to 1.3. Then we go on to part B of this question. They have mathematically similar balls, and they talk about capacity, which is volume, and we have to remember the formula that V2 over V1 is H2 over H1 cubed. So now they have given us the capacity, which is 7.8 liters and 4 liters, and the heights are 11.5, and the other height we have to find out. We simply substitute in this equation to get 4 over 7.8 equals H2 over 11.5 cubed. We end up cubing 11.5, and we cross multiply, and we end up with H2 cubed is 9.2049, and we take the cube root of it, and we get H2 is equal to, the height of the smaller ball is 9.2. Question 21, they ask you to sketch 1 over x reciprocal graph. Since 1 is positive, it's just going to be a graph that comes in the first quadrant and in the third quadrant. Then here we have y is equal to 4 to the power x. That's an exponential curve, and it's going to be in this direction. So you have to know your rules for exponential curves and for reciprocal curves. Then question 22, it's about bounds. A bag of rice is 25 to the nearest kilogram. So the lower bound would be 25 minus a kilogram divided by 2. That is 25 minus 0.5, which is 24.5. Now 10 kilograms is going to be 10 into 24.5, which is 245. Then the next part is they say Virat has 200 meters, correct to the nearest meter. So usually we write it as 200 plus a half and plus or minus a half. And then they say he cuts the wire into n pieces of 3 meters, correct to the nearest 20 centimeters. Calculate the largest possible value of n. Now we're going to to get the largest possible value of n, that is the upper bound of n, we have the numerator is going to be the length of wire and the denominator the length of one piece. So the length of wire has to be upper bound and the length of one piece is lower bound. Now for the length of the entire wire to be upper bound, it's going to be 200 meters plus 0.5, so it's 200.5. For the length of one piece to be lower bound, it's 3 meters correct to the nearest 20 centimeters. Now 3 meters correct to the nearest 20 centimeters, that would be 3 meters. Because it's the lower bound, we're going to subtract the 20 centimeters divided by 2. So it's 3 meters minus 10 centimeters, which would be 290 centimeters, which we write as 2.9. So upper bound, on top we have 200.5, at the bottom we have 2.9, and we get 69.14. So the largest possible value of n is equal to 69. So for this kind of a question, we have to understand that when we have an upper bound and we have a fraction, we want to have the upper bound for the numerator and the lower bound for the denominator. That's the theory that you need to remember when you're doing these kind of questions. Question 23, you have a pyramid with a rectangular base. You have V is vertically above the center of the pyramid, the diagonals AC and BD. Calculate the angle that VC makes with the base. So it's a very common question that you'll be asked. So here what we do is I've highlighted the angle that it makes with the base. The first thing that we need to know, we don't know VM, and we also need to find out, we have VC, so there's a right angle triangle here. So if we can actually find out VM, that would be helpful for us. So let's start with, actually what we need to do is if we can find out XMC, that also would be helpful for us. So let's start with what we know. To begin with, we have the rectangle at the bottom. Here we have ABCD. We know the lengths are 12 and 10, so we can find out the diagonal AC squared using Pythagoras. We have AC squared is 12 squared plus 10 squared, 244. So we have what AC is. Now AC is going to be, the half of AC is going to be MC. So here we have this triangle here. MC is half of AC, which is half of 15.6, which is 7.81. And we also have the hypotenuse 14. So we look at this as a right angle triangle. We can find that cosine of this angle, which we call Y, we call this angle Y. Cosine of Y is going to be equal to, cosine of Y is equal to X over 14. So that is 7.81 over 14. And then Y is going to be cosine inverse of that, which is 56.1 degrees. And that is your answer. Then we have question 24. We have a curve, find the coordinates of stationary points. Stationary points is dy by dx equals 0. So when we differentiate it, we get 3x squared minus 4x equals 0. Then if we factorize it, we have x into 3x minus 4 is 0, x is 0, 3x is 4, x is 4 over 3. If x is 0, we can substitute and y is 5. If x is 4 over 3, we substitute and y is equal to 103 over 27. So we have two coordinates, 0, 5 and 4 over 3, 103 over 27. That's all for now. I hope you understood my explanation. Until my next video, goodbye for now.